Hello, I'm Hannah, and along with my torty cat here, let's talk books. So I, at the last second, decided to do a reading vlog for Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Completely forgot the author there. This came out in 2020, I believe. It's a bit shorter, like it's less than 300 pages. And the reason I'm picking this up is because I've heard it compared to House of Leaves, which, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that was my favorite book of 2021. So I'm going to read this and see if it ends up being my favorite book of 2022. I have not read the description. I bought this a few weeks ago, and I'm going to predict it'll be 5 stars, but fingers crossed there. But let's read the back together. All right. It says, Piranesi lives in the house. Perhaps he always has. Then messages begin to appear, scratched out in chalk on the pavements. There is someone new in the house, but who are they and what do they want? Lost texts must be found. Secrets must be uncovered. The world that Piranesi thought he knew is becoming strange and dangerous. The beauty of the house is immeasurable, its kindness infinite. So I can definitely already see the House of Leaves vibes. However, it seems like the opposite, because it says kindness. Swear the House of Leaves one is definitely not kind, if you've read that at all. This edition that I have says that it's the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction 2021, and it has one of those like stickers where it's actually part of the cover, and I hate it. Like I would prefer it just have that and not that, but it is what it is. The font seems reasonable, not very big, but pretty normal. I can already see some weird things in the text. Like, let's see if I can find it again. Oh, I just saw it say part 5, so it's divided up in parts. And now I can't find the weirdness. Alright, there it is. So there's some weirdness with the format going on, which is also like House of Leaves, so I'm really looking forward to jumping into this. I'll be starting it this evening. I actually don't know anything about Susanna Clarke. I'm gonna have to look on Goodreads to see if she has any other books. Like, I literally know nothing. But I feel like this book has been getting more hype around it lately. I've been seeing more booktubers pick it up. And I have a friend on Instagram, Dita. She just finished this and I saw that she gave it 5 stars. So I'm really excited to see how I feel about it. But yeah, right now my expectations are probably higher than they should be, but I'm trying to stay pretty mellow about it. But let's jump into it. Hey, it is tomorrow afternoon. Literally should be heading out the door right now, but the next bus is in for another 40 minutes, so kind of waiting for that to go down a little bit. So I figured I would get this in the meantime. So I am on part 3, page 83 of this book. It's actually really quick to read. I was really shocked how far I got last night. And like, I literally feel like this has the potential of being read in like one sitting kind of thing. But honestly, I started this and a few pages in, I'm thinking like, oh no. I am not liking this so far, because it's a lot of like, oh, the northwest corner of the 182nd hallway in the whatever, and it's just like, oh gosh. So that was a little off-putting at first. However, I am like fully invested in this story now. Like, I need to know what happens, and I'm not expecting answers, but I hope we get some answers, because if it is like House of Leaves, we're not gonna really fully understand what's happening in the end, but I mean, I can hope a bit. Also, one other thing that kind of shows my stupidity is I thought that this character on the front was Piranesi, but he is not. Piranesi is just like a normal dude as far as I can tell, and I think this is reference to one of the statues, because the house in this book, it's essentially like a mansion, but it's infinitely big. Like, it's not like House of Leaves where it's bigger on the inside than the outside. Like, it is just, it looks this big, it is infinitely big, whatever. And there's like 3 different levels, and the lower level like represents oceans and there's like water and stuff. The middle level is where Piranesi actually lives and is like the inhabitable part of the mansion, and the upper level is like the sky and clouds. So it's kind of odd trying to picture that, but the format this is written in is a journal style. Like each chapter is a journal entry that Piranesi has written, and it's kind of just him explaining his day-to-day life and the things that are happening and little things he comes across and things like that. So it's not like there isn't like this huge plot line or anything right now, but there's little like clues of things here and there where I'm just like, So those are the intriguing bits, and those are the things where I'm like, I need to know more. So I'm really enjoying it right now. It did take a little bit for me to get into it, because like I said, that beginning part, I was just like, not too sure about. But I do like this journal format because it makes it have shorter chapters, but they're divided into parts. So there's like part 1 was labeled Piranesi, part 2 was labeled the other, part 3 is the prophet, and I have no idea like what that's alluding to or anything. But that's where I'm at right now. Oh, I also found out about the author. It even says it like literally on the book. She's written 2 other books. The first one is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and the other one I guess is a collection of short stories called The Ladies of Grace and Dew. So from what I saw, those are pretty different from Piranesi, and I don't really think I'm interested in those either. But I just wanted to throw that out there since I was interested if this was like her debut or not, which it is not. Also, one thing that I thought was interesting is the Minotaur has been mentioned a few times in here, and I thought that was funny just because I read Ariadne, however you say her name, last week, and that is a retelling of the story of like the Minotaur and stuff, and the Minotaur's sister. So I just kind of thought that was interesting that it was brought up again so soon in another book. Today is a very sleepy day. It is still so gray and cold and rainy outside, and I just feel tired. But I am on part 4, page 125 of Piranesi, and I kind of feel like I'm losing interest a bit. This section probably had the most like plots and like moving forward with the story and everything, but I don't know, it's definitely a lot different from what I was expecting, and I'm just not sure if it's going in a direction that I'm going to like in the end. We're getting more answers than I expected and a lot more information as well, so we're kind of able to piece together certain things. But I am kind of interested to see where it goes in these last 2 parts, but at the same time, I'm kind of resistant to read it, so I don't know. I'm really in a strange place with this book, and I think the ending is really going to determine how I feel about it. So since this is such a weird feeling day, I'm just kind of going to read in bed for a bit. Hey, so it's actually the next day, Tuesday, because yesterday ended up not going according to plan at all. So pretty much the second I stopped filming and went to read, I got the worst dizzy spell of my life. Like, even laying flat on my back, eyes closed, it just felt like the whole world was spinning, and it made me so freaking nauseous. So I could not read at all. I pretty much just ended up laying there with my eyes closed until I fell asleep, and I slept for 3 hours. So yeah, most of my day just went bye-bye. And I did end up reading a bit of this in the evening. However, I'm still not done. My goal was to finish this yesterday, so this is taking a bit longer than I expected. But for some reason, I was thinking there was 5 parts to this book, but there's actually 7. However, the last 2 parts are pretty short. I'm on part 6 right now, page 187, and there's only 245 pages. So I for sure should be able to finish this tonight. Fingers crossed that nothing else weird happens, because today I'm still not 100%. I still feel a little weird, but I just got home from going to the library and the grocery store, and that went mostly okay. So hopefully I'll be good for the evening. But I ended up going to the library, returned all the books that I read, and I ended up just getting 2 books from the library because there's some that I already own I'd like to read, and I also have some e-arcs I need to get to as well. But they had Later by Stephen King in their news section, whatever you want to call it. And so I picked that up. I really hadn't planned on reading this, but I don't know. I feel like I need to give it a try. And then I picked up one that I've heard a little bit about, but I definitely don't think I would have found out about it on my own. And that is Gideon the Ninth. And this has black sprayed edges, so that's kind of neat. But like the blurb on the front says, lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space. Decadent nobles vie to serve the deathless emperor. Skeletons. So that seems pretty freaking interesting. And the cover is also pretty cool as well. But I know there's a sequel to this. I don't know if it's a duology or if there's going to be like a trilogy or anything. But I've heard good things about this. Want to give it a try. I'm not sure if it leans more YA or adult, as this was just in the sci-fi section at my library, so I'm hoping it leans more adult, but I will have to look into that. Might do a reading vlog on this one, not sure yet. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to update you on the bit of craziness from yesterday. Hopefully I'll finish Piranesi tonight. Right now, I think it's between a 3 and a 4 star for me. We are actually getting a lot more answers than I expected, but I kind of wish this was a little bit more ambiguous, but I guess we'll see what happens in these last 2 parts. So it's actually been several days since I completed Piranesi, and that's because, as usual, wasn't feeling the greatest, had a new symptom, dizziness, pop up, so that's been fun trying to figure out. Luckily I have a doctor's appointment for the end of the month, but yeah, not gonna worry about that right now. We also don't have heat, so yeah, past few days have been not the greatest, but I did finish Piranesi, and man, did I really struggle with trying to figure out what to rate this, because like, objectively, like I can see why it's a good book and everything, but my expectations just did not match with what this actually was at all. And so my personal experience with it is different than what I think the rating should be, so it's just kind of wonky in the end. Also, I really thought there was going to be some different formatting like in House of Leaves, but there is not in the end. Like that one passage I showed you at the beginning of this reading vlog is like the only thing at all, and that's not what I thought it was either, so yeah. I feel like I was kind of misled on this a bit. The people that had been recommending this to people that like House of Leaves, some of the things they said weren't exactly the case in here, so I just feel a little bit confused by that. And also the description on the back, like when I read that to you guys, it made it seem like that Piranesi was going to be a lot more alone than he actually turned out to be. And so just the vibes of this book didn't go the direction I was hoping, that I was looking for, that I wanted in this story. So for me, I really liked the beginning, and then once I realized kind of what was happening and where this was going, basically the more I read, the less I kind of enjoyed it. But it was still interesting. I just feel like I wish I had a different mindset going into this, and that I had been kind of in the mood for a story like this, because what I wanted wasn't what this ended up being. However, I do think this is a 4-star book, although for my personal experience with it, it's more of like a 3-star. It does kind of keep with that journal style, although that kind of shifts a bit in the last few chapters. There is actually a solid conclusion to this, which I was not expecting. I was really expecting us to not have many answers to what was going on and have it just be very, very ambiguous. However, if you just kind of take what the characters are saying at face value, then pretty much everything is answered. There isn't really like some deep meaning to it or anything. However, you can look below the surface a bit, and there are some comments made that can change your view of like the entire story, which I do like and think is pretty interesting. But like I said, this just wasn't what I was in the mood for at this time. So I really think if I had read this at a different point, maybe my enjoyment would have been more. Maybe I'll reread this at a later date. I'm not really sure. As for the House of Leaves connection, the only real connection there is that it takes place in an unusual house. So I really wish it had kind of gone beyond that a bit, but alas, it is what it is. So in the end, this was more of a mystery book to me. There are some little aspects of like horror. There are some mentions of myths, and I actually don't know if Piranesi is a myth on his own, but like I said before, they mentioned like the Minotaur and stuff in the labyrinth, and I thought that was gonna mean a lot more than what ended up happening. But at the heart of this, it's really like a mystery novel, and that was really unexpected. But yeah, just wasn't my thing in the end. So yeah, that was quite a different reading journey than I expected. It also took me longer to read as well, just because of things happening in my life, I guess. But as always, thank you for hanging out with me, even though this one, I guess, was kind of a bit of a disappointment in the end. But until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.